So hello. Welcome on board today. My name is Temitope Olodo, and you could see me in my in my regalia. I'm still celebrating Nigeria's 61st independence, and then we have a lot of discussions, a lot of things to talk about today, and I would like to share some videos with you to put you in order for you to understand where we're coming from. Today we're going to be talking about Nigeria 2023. More importantly, what are the security challenges or the solution to the security challenges that we're facing in Nigeria? However, before we go into that conversation, I felt it was important that we talk about the latest political gist. And the latest gist is that Bola Tinubu, Ashiwaju Bola Tinubu, is back in Nigeria. And now that he's back in Nigeria, there's going to be a lot of discussions because a lot of people have been, splashing his name across, you know, TV, radio, talking about the fact that he is the man to beat for 2023, and that the the power shift must move from north to the south. Of course, the northerners have come out, or a lot of governors from the north have come out to say, no, we do not feel we should be bullied into that, while their counterpart has remained silent on their initial ultimatum. I'll be joined by some guests as we go along, but as today is a Saturday, busy day for most people. But what I need you to do right now, I will need you to share this page. I need you to like this page, and I want you to tell your friends back home that we are you know, live talking about security challenges in Nigeria and how to deal with it. One of the things that I also like to talk about, which I felt is very important that I actually talk about, is the issue of um, proscription of bandits as terrorists. I had a guest last week, and we had a very, very healthy discussion where he had concerns about my objection to more or less proscribing bandits as terrorists. And I'll be giving you my reason. I'll be giving you my reason as an expert. I don't bring emotion into my conversation. I'll be more or less telling you my views. But before we go into my views, let's watch this video, and I want you to tell me your view on this because I think it's important that we have this conversation about Tinubu because a lot of people have been saying a lot of things. There are people that are opposed to Tinubu, and I felt that we should start by highlighting those that are opposed because we always bring a balance to the conversation. A lot of people support Tinubu, but a lot of people also oppose Tinubu, and I think it's important that we bring that on board.
Taking all the money, you can see the bullet vans moving in a community of poor people with aeroplane, with aircraft. That is too much money, which could have been invested in industry. Dangote has taken over our own Freeport zone with 650 thousand capacity of refined oil. That is a person with a focus. Mr. Man, with this big money, go and establish an industry like that. Don't focus on politics. Go and read Awolowo's book. These people are deceiving you. They will spend all your money and they will hit you at the back. I can assure him, anybody who does not know the politics of Nigeria will think money is everything. You have money, you use your money to influence their own victory. When it comes to your turn, they will teach you politics.
So when it comes to their turn, they will teach you politics. Well, when it comes to your turn, they will teach you politics. In other words, this gentleman, an elder statesman in the Southwest, is saying that Tinubu should reinvest his money into better things rather than going into politics, because he believes that even though he was an architect to Buhari coming into power, the Northerners will definitely go against him. And it is very clear that whether he's a political philosopher or not, but we've seen the way the Northerners or Northern governors, to be able to be clear, Northern governors have actually come out to say, you know what, we are not supporting the power shift to southern Nigeria. And more or less that means that they are not supporting um, Tinubu's dream of becoming the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But less people have said that Tinubu Jagaban is the man to beat for 2023. And I felt, it would be good to go back into history and look at some of the things that Tinubu or his campaign, to bring his campaign to some people that don't know how Tinubu does his campaign. He was once a governor. He was once a former governor in Lagos State, and he did a lot of good work there. So, and I thought this is the time to more or less let's bring Tinubu to life. Let's let people see what Tinubu stands for. So, I'm bringing out a video that more or less gives us a bit of a story, that give us a taste of what we should be looking forward to in 2023.
Charles de Gaulle. Correct. When Britain was challenged, they turned to their great general, Winston Churchill. Correct. Today, Nigeria is challenged, economically challenged, physically challenged, security challenge. Who do we turn to? We get Muhammad Buhari. Is the right man for the job. If you talk of military experience, he has his abundantly. If you talk of courage, he has it abundantly. If you talk of a combination of vision and ability
So,
to
so that is the man.
perform.
You could see he's a gate. He knows how to talk to the crowd, how to speak to them. And I've watched his video speaking to people live in Yoruba language, and is also very superb. So, what do you think of uh, Tinubu as the president in 2023? And will you really support him becoming the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Because these are the kind of conversation that we need to have. And it's important that we have this conversation. As of yesterday, the Minister of Finance came out to give us a rollout, a breakdown of the trillions that will be spent in Nigeria, and they've allocated 100 billion again to INEC. Now, 100 billion, my mathematics is not too good, but if you take 100 billion and you divide 100 billion by the 84 million Nigerians that actually registered to vote, I think many Nigerians will prefer that that money is put in their pocket, especially in a country where there is too much poverty in the land. A lot of people will rather prefer that that money is dropped in their pocket. So when you divide the 100, 100 billion, not million now, 100 billion, yeah, 100 billion, and you divide it by 84 million, which is the population of Nigerians that are registered, you actually found out that each Nigerian will be able to go home with 1.9 million naira, which is 1,190,000, 476 naira, maybe 190 kobo. Will many Nigerians prefer to have that to be paid to their social service for all the people that have actually registered? The 84 million registered voters, would they prefer to get 1 million each, 1 million 100,000 naira each, than to go and vote and be killed as they are trying to exercise their right? Or would they want somebody to rig the election? It's also come out today that the president will be announcing very soon the population census. And the question then that many will be asked is this an opportunity? And we must not be cynical, but is this an opportunity to set on record the number of people in each state? And if you have that record, will that record now change the number of people that are registered? Because even if you come out and say, and I'm just giving an example, you come out and say that um, Kano is 50 million based on this new population, it will not change the number of people that are actually registered in Kano, because you can't change the number of people that are registered. So it will not make any difference to this election. Maybe the election of 2027 will be affected, but the election of 2023 cannot be affected, or I hope will not be affected by this population census, because a lot of people will be looking at ramping up those figures in their different villages in order to ensure that they have more money, more allocation, and more votes. Politicians will want to take advantage of that. Now we're going to open up the line very soon. We're going to open up the line very soon. So if you want to call us, you could call us on +44 736 22 1471 44 736, as I've mentioned, 044 or +44 736322 1471. You could call us on that number, and definitely we would definitely be looking forward to taking your calls in a few minutes. But before then, I would like to play a video And this time around, I want to distinguish between, I want to go into the terrorism aspect of our conversation because I feel it's important that we talk about this because a lot of people have said that why is it that I am to bandits, bandits becoming bandits being tagged as terrorists, why uh, groups such as why groups why groups such as the the iPod or Yoruba Nation is branded, can be branded as terrorists. Yoruba Nation has not yet been branded, but iPod have been branded as terrorists. And I'll try and explain that difference because I think it's important that we explain that. I think it's very, very important because a lot of people are mixing up this. And I think the best way to do that is for me to draw your attention to actually the Nigerian constitution or uh, Nigerian law on terrorism because a lot of the a lot of the commentators that have been going on TV to talk about this have more or less deviated. They've deviated from actually talking about what the law is because if the government is going to if the government of Nigeria is going to prosecute anybody, you know, uh, on this, going to prosecute anybody for breaching the law, they will only have to do that, they will have to do that using the Nigerian constitution, Nigerian law and the constitution. And the Terrorism Prevention Act of 2011, if I could start from that, is very, very clear about what terrorism is. And I think it's important that we go there and look at what it says. Now, if you go to that constitution, it provides for a clear explanation on what stands as terrorism and what is not terrorism. And it is only when you understand that you are able to deal with it. But there are two things that I am actually going to deal with. The first thing is that I'm going to define what a terrorist is. I'm going to define what terrorism is. I'm going to describe what is a proscribed. I'm going to define what is a proscribed organization under the Terrorism Act of 2011, because it's only when we're able to do this that people will be able to understand exactly what we're talking about, because a lot of people are out there just saying all kind of things without really understanding it. In the act itself, it says that in order to understand the act of terrorism, you have to go to section 1 of the act. Yeah. In order to understand what terrorism stands for, you need to go to section 1 of the Nigerian Terrorism Act of 2011. And the Nigerian Terrorism Act of 2011, section 1, because it's important to highlight it, because a lot of these people are going out there and they are not looking, even including the lawyers, with all due respect, they are going there and they're just saying all kind of things. Now, part 1, the acts of terrorism and related offenses, states that a person who knowingly a does attempt or threaten to do an act preparatory to or in furtherance of an act of terrorism. B. Commit to do anything that is reasonable necessary to promote the act of terrorism. C. Act or facilitate the activities of persons engaged in an act of terrorism commit an offense under this act. So, in other words, for you to commit an offense under the act of terrorism, you must, one, section 1A, you must attempt or threaten to. So even if you've not done it, you must threaten to commit an act deemed as a terrorist act. Two, eh, you must commit an act reasonable necessary to promote terrorism. So you must promote terrorism. C, you must facilitate it. So please have those three in mind, because you and me are going to go into terrorism 101, and we're going to it down, break down the act of terrorism. We're going to break it down so that you can understand where I'm coming from and why bandits do not fall under terrorism. Now, what is meant by the act of terrorism? So the act of terrorism itself is defined or dealt with in section 2 of that act that I just mentioned. And it says, section 2, subsection A says, uh, in this section, an act of terrorism means an act which is deliberately done with malice and forethought, and which A, may seriously harm or damage a country or an international organization. So any act that may seriously harm or damage a country is or an international organization is an act of terrorism. That's number one definition. Number two definition, B, is intended or reasonable be regarded as having been intended to unduly compel, listen, compel a government or international organization to perform or abstain from performing an act. So what they are saying now is that in order for it to be an act of terrorism, it must be directed at a government or international organization. A. B. Seriously intimidate a population. Yeah. So it must intimidate a population. Yeah. 3. Seriously destabilize or destroy the fundamental political and constitutional, economic and social structure of a country or international organization. 4. Otherwise influence such government and international organization by intimidation or coercion. So in other words, it must be an act which is intimidating a government, trying to influence a government or an international body, trying to intimidate a population. Yeah. So it's important that we get that right, because I'm trying to make sure that we understand we understand this. Yeah. Now, section C of the act then goes on to explain section C of the act. And thank you so much, Prince Ezem, that is watching. Thank you so much, watching all the way from the United Kingdom. Thank you. I can see people also watching from Dubai. I see people watching on LinkedIn. Thank you. Tell us where you're watching from. Like this page, share this page, because I'm looking and I'm talking about terrorism from a Nigerian perspective, and I'm breaking down the law. I'm breaking down the law in order to understand why I am against pro, uh, proscribing bandits as terrorists. You want to know the reason. They have killed women, they have raided communities, they have kidnapped children, and yet I am saying they should not be called a terrorist. Why am I saying that? C includes or causes, as the case may be, an act upon a person's life which may result in serious harm. So when they come against a person's life, so individual, when they are involved in kidnapping of a person. So you could see why some people are a bit confused. That why will I say that bandits should not be tagged as terrorists, especially when they are kidnapping persons? So they act very clearly in section C, section C, 2C, subsection 2 says that kidnapping of a person is covered under the act. Destruction of government and public facilities, transportations, infrastructures, facility, including information system, fixed platform located on the continental shelf, public place or private property likely to endanger human life and result in major economic loss. Okay? Section 4, subsection 4 says seize an aircraft, another means of public transport. Section 5 talks about manufacture, possession, acquisition, transport, supply of weapons. Section 6 talks about section and subsection 6 talks about release of dangerous substance causing fire. Section 7, subsection 7 talks about interference with and disruption of supply of water. Then it goes on to say in section D, an act or omission in or outside Nigeria which constitute an offense within the scope of counterterrorism protocols and convention duly ratified by Nigeria. Yeah. So, in other words, in order for an organization to fall into an organization that is a terrorist organization, it must be in line with the definition by the United Nations. Yeah, see where I'm coming from? A definition by the United Nations of terrorism, not Nigerian definition of terrorism. So, at this point, we need to ask the question, what is the United Nations? What is the United Nations definition of terrorism? Because if we understand the United Nations definition of terrorism, and I'll bring you the UK definition of terrorism, I think it's important that I do that. If we understand that, then it will be much easier for us to understand whether this group fall into a group that should be proscribed. I will go into the issue of proscription, but let me also, before I leave that page, also talk about what is meant by proscription. So when you go to section 2 of this act, section 2 of this act clearly explains what and just a minute, just hold on. I just want to bring up the act so that because I don't want to speak from head. I want to more or less let you understand from a legal perspective. Because I'm a student of law and a student of terrorism, so I understand this thing, and a lot of people that are going out there to talk about these things have very little knowledge, and sometimes they just speak from their head. It says where, so when you are talking about prescription, so when you want to talk about prescription of an organization, you must follow what is in the act. And it says here, where two or more persons associated for the purpose of where an organization engage in participating or collaborating in the act of terrorism, b, promoting, encouraging, and exhorting others to commit an act of terrorism, c, setting up or pursuing an act of terrorism. The judge in chambers may, on an application made by the Attorney General of the Federation, the National Security Advisor, or the Inspector General of Police, on the approval of the President, may declare any entity to be a proscribed organization, and the notice must be published in the National Gazette. In other words, for you to proscribe an organization as a terrorist group in Nigeria, that job is left in the hand of three individuals, three bodies, three offices: the office of the Attorney General of the Federation, the National Security Advisor, and the Inspector General of Police. Those three individuals will advise the president, and with the support of the president, they will now submit in chambers to a judge. and that judge will proscribe the organization for, because they have committed to act, participating or collaborating in the act of terrorism, or promoting and encouraging and exhorting others in an act of terrorism. So, in other words, in order for an organization to be deemed as, or to be prescribed, for organization, it has to be an organization. Remember, it has to be two or more people come together forming an organization, and you prescribe that organization as a terrorist group. So in order for those groups to be prescribed, or for that organization to be prescribed, they must be involved in an act of terrorism. Now, what is the definition of terrorism? There is no one single definition of terrorism. It's important to state that. But the United Nations General Assembly condemns terrorist act by using the following political prescription of terrorism in December 1994 under what is called General Assembly Resolution 49/60. I am bringing this thing live to you because I believe it's important that we explain it. They say it is a criminal act intended or calculated to provoke a state of terror in the general public or a group of persons or particular persons for, listen, for political purposes, are in any circumstances unjustifiable, whatever the consideration of the political, philosophical, ideological, racial, ethnic, religious, or any other nature that may provoke them to justify it. In other words, in order for a group to fall within the definition of the United Nations resolution in December 1994, resolution 90/60, there must be a group of persons coming together for political purposes, and in a circumstances unjustifiable, whatever the consideration of a political, philosophical, ideological, racial, ethnic, religious, and any other nature. Now, that is the United Nations definition. What is the United States definition of terrorism? Because I think it is important, because sometimes people uh, stay in their cucumber and go on TV, and they don't do their research, and talk they just talk off head and say things, and people swallow those those uh those talks. And it's important because do is that there's a lot of people, and it's important that when we are talking about terrorism, we try to avoid misleading people, because it is only when we mislead people that we get into trouble. Because many people will say, "Oh, that man said it," but the bottom line is that that definition of terrorism that the National Assembly and all of them are looking at is completely wrong. The United States law definition of terrorism says that it defines it as a premeditated, politically motivated violence perpetrated against non-competent targets. Non-competent targets means civilians, by subnational groups, you know, or clandestine agents, usually intended to influence an audience. So the united that's the United States definition. What is the UK definition of terrorism? Now, I'm bringing this not because I want to bore you, but because I want to, as an expert, I believe, and as an academician, I, I believe that when I'm talking about terrorism, I must be very, very clear, because having worked in this field for many years, and having represented Her Majesty government in discussions, and helping to ensure de-radicalization projects and things like that, I need to be very, very clear. The UK definition of terrorism is found in the UK Terrorism Act 2000. So you can Google that. And it says clearly that this act terrorism means the use of threat of action where A, the action falls within subsection 2, the use of threat, even though you've not done it, and the use of threat is designed to influence a government. Yeah, and is used to, and it goes on to talk about the use of political, just like the United Nations. So every one of them keyed into the United Nations unjustifiable acts, which is based on political, philosophical, ideological, radical, ethnic, religious. Now, in light of that definition and the definition of the law that I've given you, I want you to play you a video, and I will now explain what I mean. Love it or hate it, I will explain why certain group in Nigeria fall into a terrorist group and others do not fall into a terrorist group, and I'll explain it. So please be patient with me, because I believe it is important. We are having here, after this, you can actually give yourself a certificate introduction to terrorism, introduction to terrorism definition, because this is very, very important. I want you to listen to this, and I will explain after you've listened to it why I need to play you this video. The video is coming up. You see a video now, and this is a video of a group that have come out to tell Nigerians that they are. Please watch.
Stands
1 minute. Sorry, the video will be coming up in a minute. Sorry about the.
spineless, lily-livered idiots as governors. They have given over our land to the Janjaweed to occupy in perpetuity. This very generation this very IPOB will to continue. We have cowards and spineless, lily-livered idiots as governors. They have given up our land to the Janjaweed to occupy in perpetuity. This very generation this very IPOB will not tolerate it. Not
So, what we've seen there, I want to, based on the definition we just come up with, I felt it is important that we look at Nnamdi Kanu's video. Very bad audio. I apologize. I don't know what is happening to our system. The network is a bit down, but I apologize. But you got the gist of it. This is a man coming out under iPod, so that's the name of the organization, threatening, creating pictures and showing people who are marching, saying that they want to leave the nation, threatening terror on the population in the southeast and Nigeria generally. Based on the terrorism act I just read out to you, it is political, it's political, it's ideological, and it's made it very clear that they want to leave Nigeria and they're going to use all means possible, including arms. So Based on that, you can go to any court and proscribe that organization. Remember section 2 of the act. The attorney general or the inspector general of police or the national security advisor, which is what they did, they went and said IPOD is an organization. Based on their video, they've come out to say they want to succeed from Nigeria. They said they're going to use violence. They've not, even if they've not done it, they've said it. We've seen the threat and we want to proscribe them. And any judge, based on those reasonable explanation, will be able to prescribe such an organization. Simple and short. Now, remember, according to the United Nations definition, which I brought for you for resolution 4960, which was done in December 1994, the organization must threaten, threat, or use threat, and it must be political, it must be ethnical, it must be a group, of course, and for you to proscribe them, there must be a group of 2 or 3 people come together. They must have a name that you could prescribe them as. So when Boko Haram also started their diabolical act, they gave themselves a name. They came out and said, this is who we are, and we want to create an Islamic state. And as a result, the government was able to prescribe. Even before the government prescribed them, other nations around the world have prescribed them. But have you heard of any nations around the world trying to prescribe Nigerian bandits? In the first instance, and these are the questions I'm trying to pose to you, how do you prescribe bandits? Because number one, the bandit that you're talking about, they've committed acts that fall under terror. They've terrorized a community, they sack a community, they've kidnapped people, they've destroyed government institutions, destroy everything. So they fall under it. But immediately you get to the aspect of their motive. Their motive is mainly money. If they come out like the one that the Gumi of this world went to and they say, we are Fulani group, we are fighting for land, we want to take land back for our people, then you can call them Fulani herdsmen and prescribe them. That I have no problem with. You should be able to do that successfully. So if anybody is saying proscribe Fulani herdsmen that are causing havoc, I will be number one on the line to say, yes, they're a particular group. Gumi has gone there. We have video where they're saying this and we want to proscribe them. That is good. But if you say you want to proscribe bandits who are just after money, collecting money from individuals, causing havoc, it will be extremely difficult to prescribe them. Not only will it be extremely difficult, you will not be able to prescribe them, number one. So that's why you could see that Malami is not coming out to talk about it. Because what will he go in front of a judge to say? Oh, we have a bandit. Some bandits, they are terrorizing people. Yeah, yeah, that's very bad. They are kidnapping people. Oh, yeah, that's very bad. They're creating terror in the community. Yes, that's wrong. What's their name? They don't have a name. I don't understand. Are you going to call them Kebbi bandits, or call them Sokoto bandits, or call them Oyo State bandits, or call them Maduguri bandits? You have to have a name for them. You have to have a name for them. Then the judge will turn around and say, "Oh, okay. In order for me to prescribe this group, Attorney General, how do they fall within the definition, the Nigerian definition in the Terrorism Act of 2020, 2011? How do they fall within that act? Because the act is very clear that they have to be a group. For me to prescribe that, they have to be a group. Where's their name? What's their name? Okay, let's even move away from their name. What's their political objective? Are they willing? Are they looking at setting up their own the bandit hometown, or what are they doing? They don't have a political motive. These guys don't want to be governed. These guys don't want to rule over anybody. They go into a community, they sack them, they kill the people there, and they take their food because they are hungry. They want to take food. That's all they are interested in. So they are bandits. What I'm trying to say is Nigerian legislators need to stop being lazy. Nigerian lawyers need to stop being lazy. And we all need to all stop being lazy and come up with a law to capture these animals as they are and deal with them. So, for example, let me give a free of charge, free of charge legislation. We could create a legislation for non-competent, non-competent, non-competent. That's enemy of the state, non-competent people carrying arms against the state, call it the enemy of the state. So we can define it and say these are individuals who are not in the military or any security organization who are carrying weapons which have been declared unlawful in the Nigerian law. They carry this weapon and using it to intimidate communities, using it to commit armed robbery, using it to commit kidnapping, using it to cause havoc, using it to keep people on the motorway, using it to keep people on the seaway. This group, whether one or two, when caught, will be deemed to have committed an offense as a non-competent arm carrying people against the state. And for that reason, we can say, for that reason, they shall face 20 years imprisonment if they had weapons on them when they are caught. If people die in the course of the act that they have committed, they could go for life imprisonment or death sentence. If you do that, believe you me, it will be easy to capture these people and then take them to court and sentence them to death if you want to sentence them because people have died under their wings. But if you take them to court under this Terrorism Act of 2011, they will walk out for free from any court. They walk out for free. They walk out free. It's not going to be possible. They are going to walk out free. And that's the reason why I believe that while it is easy to proscribe group like Yoruba Nation, and people will say, why is it that it's easy to proscribe Yoruba Nation? Because they meet the criteria. Look at the Act of 2011. Let me explain. Afenifere have not been proscribed, but Yoruba Nation can be proscribed. Why? Explain. Afenifere is coming out to say we want regional independence, and they could even ask for independence, and we're going to go through pressure group campaigning, advocacy, but they've not carried arms against the state, and they are not intimidating anybody to say there's not going to be election. Yoruba Nation says there's not going to be an election for 2023. Some of their leaders have come out to say that they are going to go after anybody that say that they should not have a Yoruba Nation. Afenifere have not said that. They can disagree with anybody that doesn't agree with them, but they've not come out to say, if you don't agree with us, we'll lay you on the road. And there are video, I can show you video of people coming out to say they want this, and there are evidence of people from the Yoruba Nation, not all of them, few people saying that they actually want to buy weapons and actually going out to say they want to recruit people to carry weapons. So there have been those kind of thing, and that has actually given ammunition to this to the state to actually go after Sunday Igboho, rightly or wrongly, going to kill people in the house. We need to see the warrant that the government used to do that, because ordinary citizens' house should not be destroyed in that same manner. And I was happy that the court awarded Sunday Igboho 20 billion naira for the damage done to his house, rightly so. So you could see that I'm not against Sunday Igboho standing for his right as a Nigerian to say, I want to leave Nigeria. But I think some of the activities of the group are fall within the periphery of being prescribed as a terrorist group, because they have a name, they have a face, and they've created flags, and they've hosted out their flag in Lagos, somewhere in Lagos, and they said they want independence, and they've tried to use violence in some situations. They've used violence to apprehend weapons from immigration officers and customs at the border, the Niger border, around around the Ibadan side, that area, the Oyo State side, the border there. They've actually taking weapons off people. So they've intimidated security agencies and done that. And as a result, they could be proscribed easily by the National Security Advisor or the Inspector General of Police or the Attorney General advising the president and going in chambers either by ex parte rule to ask for them to be proscribed. But they will have to go through that process, and then they will also have their day in court to ask for that to be extinguished, to be for the court to set it aside. They will have a right to do that. But you've never had Nigerian government saying they want to do the same to Afenifere, because even though they are asking for the same thing, they are also asking for independence, autonomy of the region, and that is where IPOD also sits. But you could see a governor coming out to say iPod is different from Mossad. That Mossad also does not go uh, uh, does not go with violence like iPod. So you could see those distinctions. But what about the bandits? Is what the bandits doing right? No, no, no. What the bandits are doing is not right. The bandits are causing havoc, they are killing people, and they should be dealt with, they should be locked up, and in fact, if possible, be given the death sentence, but not under the Terrorism Act. It will be impossible for any attorney general of any state to put these people in front of the court under Terrorism Act, because by the time their lawyer stand before the court and start to provide analysis to the contrary, that they are not a political group, they are not an ethnic group, but they are actually just a money grabbing individuals who have led a different life, you find out the court will dismiss that case and these guys will walk out free. So what we need is that good Nigerians should come together, and I'm willing. No, bandits, sir. Mr. John, with all due respect, sir, bandits do not fall within the definition of terrorism. I will read it out again just for you. The Nigerian Terrorism Act mimics definition mimics the United Nations Act. A United Nations Act, that definition which came about in December 1994. I will read it out again. Says under resolution 49 slash 60, says a criminal act intended or calculated to provoke a state of terror in the general public, a group of person, or a particular person for political purposes. Bandits do not have political purposes. We have to be clear. Bandits do not have political purposes. The bandits that Gumi saw might have political purposes, but then you will have to, if you want to prescribe those ones, and that's why I said if you want to prescribe those ones because they said they were of Fulani extraction, then it is easy to come out and say the Fulani bandits in Katsina, and you must give them a name and say the Fulani bandits in Katsina have been prescribed as a terrorist group, then they fall under that definition. But if you want to talk about the bandits in Niger State or the bandits in Oyo State that are causing havoc, or the ones that are going through the north central, then they do not fall under, they don't have political purposes. It says here that the group of persons, or the group, which is an organization or group of persons, must have political purposes in their circumstances, which is unjustifiable, whatever the consideration, which is either political, philosophical, ideological, racial, ethnic, religious, or of any other nature, to provoke such an act. It is impossible to say that bandits who are after money are terrorists. Completely different, sir. So that's what I'm trying to explain. So we need to be clear. If you look at, and I know you live in the UK, sir, and that's the reason I'm bringing this. If you look at the Terrorism Act, the UK Terrorism Act also followed the same. It said it must be a terrorism act. It said terrorism is an act or threat designed to influence government or intimidate a population or the public. So where a group is intimidating the public, yes, but there is a B side. So everything that everybody is looking at is the A side of the definition of terrorism, which is the threat or the action which influence a state or a public. But there is a B part to it, and in law, you know as well as I do, sir, that you must fulfill all part of the law. And the second part of it said its purpose is to advance a political, religious, or ideological cause. Bandits have no political cause. Bandits have no religious cause. Bandits have no ideological cause. iPod has a political purpose because they want to set up the state of Biafra. They have an ideological cause because they believe they descend from Israel. Israel, they're the lost nation of the Jews, and they want to create their own Biafra nation. That is a political cause. The Yorubas, Yoruba nation, Yoruba Odua, has a political purpose. They want to create an Odua state, a nation called Odua state. The bandits do not want to create any state. They have no political agenda. They have no ideological agenda. They are animals. Animals. They worship animals. They are not even religious. We know that as a fact, and you know that as a student, as somebody that have been reading more about this, and that this new definition I gave you is the current definition for the UK Terrorism Act of 2006. UK had a Terrorism Act in 2000, and then there's another one in 2006. And the United Nations, the United States also have the same definition. So when you go back to the Terrorism Act of Nigerian Terrorism Act, which is I'll give you the name now so that we are very clear. It's called the Terrorism Prevention Act of 2011. It gives a clear definition of what is prohibited as an act of terrorism in section 1. Section 2 talks about how it is prescribed and how it will be prescribed. What do you want to call what do you want to call a bandit that is based in Niger State, sir? It does not fall within the nucleus of terrorism. Terrorism has a part A and a part B. So that's why I read it out, sir. Part A and part B. I will read out the UK one, I will read out the United Nations one, so that we are very, very clear. In fact, the again, for our listeners, and I know a lot of people will watch this video after, and I want you to send it to your member of parliament, I want you to send it to your legislators and anybody that is involved in talking on TV. They need to be very, very clear, because I just read out that in Nigerian constitution it says that the our Nigerian Terrorism Act is based on the terrorism resolution that we have ratified, one of which is in December 1994 resolution, United Nations General Assembly resolution 4960, that says that a criminal act intended or calculated to provoke a state of terror in the general public. When you look at it from that perspective, the A part, every group fall into that act because they're a criminal act. The act of the bandit is a criminal act. It is calculated, intended to provoke terror, because when you kidnap 200 children, definitely you are creating terror. So there's no doubt. I'm not doubting that. But it must be a group of persons or a particular person for political purposes are in any circumstances unjustifiable. So I'm not saying the act of the bandit are unjustifiable. Whatever the consideration of a political, they are not political. Bandits are not political. Philosophical, they are not philosophical. Ideological, they are not ideological. Racial, they are not racial. Ethnical, they are not. Religious, they are not. So immediately a good lawyer, even a lawyer that comes out of law school tomorrow will win any case if you take a bandit to court and sue them under this. However, what I will encourage is that we create a non-competent legislation. So we could say enemy of the state. Definition of enemy of the state. An enemy of the state is any non-competent civilian who pick up a weapon prescribed to be an illegal weapon, either as an individual or a group of person, gather together to create terror in the life in the public or influence government. If you put it that way, good. What will they will then look at, how do you prescribe them? In order for this group to be deemed as an non-competent group, this group must: one, gather themselves together; two, use illegal weapon; three, participate in an act deemed as a criminal act. Deemed as a criminal act. So carrying weapon in Nigeria is a criminal act. Kidnapping people in Nigeria is a criminal act. Waylaying people, raping people's wife and children is a criminal act. Attacking people with weapons is a criminal act. So that is so they must feel all those things. Then we can now say, if they do this carrying weapons and they are caught in an act carrying weapon, they would face a life imprisonment or 20 years imprisonment, depending on which is deemed uh, deemed liable by the court, or where a life has been taken in the process, they will also lose their life. So I believe that what we good people should do is come together and create this kind of law and give it to a member of the House of Assembly to present it before the House of Assembly and for them to pass it. And I believe if we do that, we are in a much better position. But we cannot ask lawyers to go and stand in the law court in front of a judge and say, we are bringing bandits. Is the bandit prescribed? No, you can't prescribe them. How do you prescribe a bandit? What are you going to call them? Sokoto bandit, Ilela bandit, Fulani bandit? If you call them Fulani national, like this, the ones that attacked the governor of Benue State, they call themselves Fulani National Front. You can prescribe such a group because they've come out, they've intimidated a sitting governor. They're trying to influence a sitting governor about open grazing. Meiti Allah are fighting the same cause. But have you heard anybody say that Meiti Allah should be prescribed as a terrorist group? No, because they've not used terror as a means of fighting for their right. They said that they will go to court. What has Sunday Igboho and his group, the Yoruba Nation, that group done? They said they will stop election in 2023. That is political. They said they will create another state. The what do you call it? Meiti Allah have not said they are creating another country. They're saying they are staying in Nigeria and they're going to fight every state that comes up with open glazing. So what I'm saying is that even though we might not love what they are doing, but they are doing it through a legitimate way. And they are not carrying weapons and encouraging any of their members to carry weapons. And when people have carried weapons, they say they have also encouraged officials to arrest those people because they do not belong to them. We've not had the Yoruba Nation say that anybody that is against coming up with election in 2023, that they are happy with that. What we've been hearing from them is rhetoric that they're going to bring people out, they're going to bomb people's house down, they're going to do no, and those are the kind of things we'll be hearing. But we've not heard that from Afeni Ferere. That's different. That's the reason why I say we need to be very clear about what we are doing. So my submission, and this is my final submission, is that, and this is simple. My final submission is that bandits cannot and should not be designated as a terrorist group, because if you do that, you will lose that case in court because they are not political. When you look at part B of the definition, they are not political, they are not ideological, and I brought that I'll show you definition, and I'll show you from the Nigerian law that you cannot rectify. You have to use the definition of terrorism has to be ratified in line with, it has to be the one that is ratified by United Nations. Nigerian definition is based on the United Nations definition, which came about in December 1994, and the resolution 49/6/60 says clearly that it must be for political reason, ideological reason, and bandits are not political, they are not philosophical, they are not ideological, they are money driven, they are motivated by money. They've not come out. The one that bandit that Gumi met, yes, might be, but you can't call them Fulani herdsmen. If you want to call them, if you want to proscribe Fulani herdsmen, then that means you are only going after people that are Fulani, who are Fulani bandits. But we know from the incident that happened just 48 hours ago, where about 30 people were killed, 13 or 30 people, 13 people were killed. They said that the people that raided and attacked their town were foreigners. So even if you proscribe the Fulani herdsmen, who are you proscribing? Are you proscribing Fulani herdsmen in herds, arms herdsmen in Nigeria, or the ones that are coming from outside the country? So there's a lot of issues there that we have to unpick. And if there are people out here who believe that we should proscribe this group, this is an opportunity for you to come to me. You can call me now, +44 73 63 22 1471. You have 3 minutes. You can call me now. If you want to call me, lines are open now. You can call me and tell me why you believe that Boko Haram should be and that the bandit should be proscribed. You could call me now, and I would definitely take it. But if you accept my assertion, then that'll be very, very good, because I am of the view. N- Okay, now Mr. John has raised a very, very important question, and I want to answer that question. The number is pinned. The number again to call is +44, is running down at the bottom of the screen. +44 73 63 22 1471. Yes, a bandit that is linked to a terrorist group like Boko Haram can actually be dealt with as a Boko Haram splinter group. So if you call them a Boko Haram splinter group, but you must have a name for them, and you say that this group are involved in terrorism and they are linked to Boko Haram. If you do that, yes, you can go after them and call them terrorists. But you can't say that. What do we call them? Do you call them Kasina bandits, or because they don't have names? Most of those groups don't have names. They are only known by the name of their commanders, who are different commanders. Everyone gets once they finish their apprenticeship with their boss, they create their own little group, and they are divided into splinter groups. That is the situation. So it's impossible to proscribe bandits as terrorists, but you can proscribe them as non-competent arm carrying enemy of the state. And I'm willing to write, because I learned when I was in the civil service how to draft legislation. I'm willing, if people are willing to join me, the number is working. You can call this number, the number is working. You can call the number now. The number is working. The number is 0736 07 07 368 22 1471. You can call the number. The number is working. At this point, I think we've exhausted this discussion. We have really, really talked about this conversation. We've beaten it down. And I hope that based on this, if anybody is interested in joining me in the drafting of a new, if you are interested in joining me to draft, okay, I think we might have a caller. Okay, hello, sir. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from, sir. Okay, sir. What is? Okay.
calling from London.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
I must give you a very good credit, for going through all those laws. And, it takes time. It's not the one day job or a 2 day job.
Yes, sir.
Good. But what I mean, as a lawyer and as a graduate of law, what I'm still saying is this. Nigerian bandits, they have links with one, Boko Haram, which everybody knows. And
Definitely.
the government itself is aware.
Definitely.
Secondly, the bandits that we are talking about, their affinity with the Yetiala, because if anything happens, if you will remember the case of the guy from from Igogo or what?
Yeah, you go.
With Ali or what do you call it?
Yes, sir.
The one that would okay. When his case happened, the Yetiala came up and they said that he is not a bandit. I mean that he is not a bandit. Which means these bandits, they are hidden or they hide under a political, and they are hidden under some groups that we know.
Okay.
And you see, another thing is that we have to trace the history of the band of these old bandits. One, the history which we must trace, and which is not easy, and which is being written in Nigerian newspaper every time, is that it was Buhari himself when he was contesting. When he was contesting, I think it should be 2015.
Yes.
When he said, unless otherwise he wins, anybody that win, he will give them a tough time to rule on Nigeria. And the issue tells us that it was that time that these bandits were reported. And Buhari himself, he opened his mouth and said that these people, that they came in from Libya, from here, and from there. And when they were unable to fit them again, this is from where they came out and they started operating. So it is easy, it's very easy to link them with a political party. It's easy to link them with with terrorist groups. It's easy to link them with an ideology too. So for you now, telling me as a graduate of law that they could not be prescribed, I will agree to disagree completely with you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. And that's also our first call from our big brother, Brother John. And he's made his point and he's right to make those points. If you listen to him clearly, this is a man speaking intelligently about the situation and tracing the history, rightly so. The problem I have is that as a lawyer and as a student of law and as a counterterrorism consultant, I know that lawyers are very, very crafty, very crafty. And when it comes to technicality, there'll be a problem. Because in order if we say that the bandits in Katsina, there is now clear links that the bandits in Katsina are linked to Boko Haram. It is easy to then say let's say we even give them the name Kasina bandits. We call them Alamialaya, whatever name you call them, terrorist group linked to Boko Haram. It is easy. We can pick them up. We can put them in court, and we win that case easy. We say okay, the one in Kasina, we can link them because this guy went to them, Gumi went to them, and they said they are Fulani because their people were driven away from the um, farmland and everything. And they want to take over the land because their parents, and they are doing the same in Jos and everything. And he said they are Fulani. Those one, in fact, we know that the Fulani herdsmen actually made the list of the global terrorism index. So it's not. If we want to call them Fulani herdsmen and proscribe them, believe me, sir, I am happy with that. So I don't want you to think maybe I'm saying that it is impossible to tag one or two. What I'm saying is that it will be completely. We have, as we speak, we have over 150 bandits. Except we have names for each and every one of them, it will be difficult to round them up, to pick them up and say that we want to proscribe them as terrorists and to be able to win in court. I'm talking from a legal perspective, winning in court. They are criminals. There's no doubt about that. They are committing act of terror. There's no doubt. But do they fit into the definition of terrorism? To some extent, yes. But when it comes to a technical aspect, sir, I remember my dad of blessed memories. When they go to court, when it comes to employment tribunal, there are times when they are not winning on the basis of my my client had more vote than the other client, so that's the reason we no. They go and say this man does not have the qualification he said he had in 2015. In 1971 he forged his document. He did not have an English O level, or he did not have this. That's what they use technicalities, and as a lawyer I know you know that. That is where these guys will be getting off, and that's why I have a problem. That's why I am recommending that all we do is just transpose, and using a legal term now, we transpose, we lift the terrorism act as it is now. We lift it and we just change terrorism and put it to non-competent armed men, Nigerian non-competent armed men. And we say that we give it the definition. A non-competent act, a criminal act, is when a man commits a criminal act, the same thing as the law. Will now remove political from it, but where they use terror and threat to kill individuals and state, and then we'll still put the same sentence, the same death sentence, the same thing, everything, but we just change the name from terrorism. That way, as we call them bandits, we can pick them up. It's the same thing. We can pick them up, arrest them, and as I'm speaking to you now, there are 2 or 3 countries that have done the same. Israel has also done the same because Israel could not come after Palestinians that are standing up and calling them terrorists all the time. So they have to go on non-competent, because some of the people that are picking up arms might not even be a member of any group, as we've seen in the UK. They might not even be they might just be inspired. So there might be people that are inspired by the bandits making a lot of money, and they too want to try their luck. So they are so when a brother-in-law kidnap his brother's son, and go into the bush and pretend that he's a bandit and ask for money, and they gave him the money and they use the money to trace him. Are we not going to say we are going to take him to court as a terrorist or as a kidnapper? He has committed a criminal act, but there is no political reasons there. The ones that kidnap children in Kankara, they have no political reason. The ones that kidnap kids in Lagos, remember there was a kidnap of school kids in Lagos too. They have no political intention. They just wanted money. But the ones that kidnap the Chibok girls, they had political reasons. The ones that kidnap capture girls. They even told them that they don't want them to come to school again. They had religious and other reasons. That is what I'm saying. So I agree with Mr. John completely from that perspective. I agree with him because I believe he's completely right. What I would call a group, they are called non-combatant, no, combatant. I don't know English language. They are not competent individuals that are carrying arms. And in fact, I believe the United Nations, the United States also have something like that. There's a law like that. Israel also has a law along that line. And we can frame that law, create a legislation. We can draft that legislation and then look for a member of the House of uh, a, a member of representative or House of Senate, and we can ask them to present the non-competent, anti-competent, uh, arm carrying legislation, and they present it, and I know it will escape through easily. That's what we need to do, and I think we need to do that. Thank you so much, everyone. And we got our first call today. I'm really grateful to Mr. John and to everyone else that is watching. Tell us where you are watching from so that we can appreciate you. We really appreciate you for joining us today. Next week we'll continue with part two of this discussion, and we'll be talking about politics, of course, and Tinubu returning back to Nigeria and what that means for the political scene in Nigeria. We'll look into that next week. But until we meet again, thank you so much for staying in tune. Thank you so much for listening, and please do call us next time if you have questions, if you want part of this group that I'm trying to set up. So I believe that we should have a group that could actually draft a law which will pass over to members of the House of Representative or Nigerian Nigerian Senate. I think we need to pass that law to them. If you have any suggestion on how to go about it, you can send me an email at info at transcustodium.uk. Send me a message, and definitely I'll be more than happy to definitely work with you in doing that, because I think we need to do that. We need to do that. Really need to do that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you all. God bless you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria and everyone that is watching. Thank you so much.